Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco, Dish Out on the Movies, and today we are doing a, what would you call it, ranking, a review, and The Office Season 6, and there are 24 episodes, although on the side it shows a little more because they did included deleted scenes, and but it's actually 24 episodes. So do you want to start, Marco?
Okay. Well, I used to be really negative towards this season. I don't know, for some reason, like, it really rubbed me the wrong way. The way that, I don't know, like, I think now that looking at it more critically, it's funny because, you know, with a lot of other things, looking at them more critically has actually made them worse because you're like just hyper focused on all the little wrong things. But for some reason this season has gotten like a lot better for me now that I've watched it critically, because I can see that it really isn't that bad. It starts off really, really well, and it maintains like a pretty good standing, but then it kind of falls off near the end a little bit, and I think that that's where the season gets bad. So I would say overall this season, the biggest problem with this season, and I think that Safi would agree, the biggest problem is the storylines. A lot of them, they go nowhere, they get forgotten about. It's just like they're bringing up like little stories and not really following through on them. There will be stories that are really, really significant for a couple episodes, and then you never hear about them again, you know, or they just stop going anywhere, like the Andy and Aaron relationship. Like, ugh, you know, that story was a big letdown. What happened with that? So,
And they kind of built it up.
They built it up a lot. They built it up and they did a much better job with it in terms of they didn't drag it out for like 6 seasons like with fucking Jim and Pam and shit, you know. So anyways, my worst episode of season 6 is Scott's Tots. This episode is in the F tier, and I think that it's just the worst. It's not even because it's cringeworthy, it's because it's just a bad episode. Like, I feel like instead of having a whole classroom of kids get disappointed, it would have been a much better choice if he had just promised one child to pay for their college. And so that way the whole episode you get to know that character, and it would be a lot more personal. And then they had that Employee of the Month storyline too, which was really negative. So I did not like this episode. Safi?
Well, I agree, and it was uncomfortable, and I just thought, after going through somebody going to college, a lot of kids, if they don't make straight A's and have a perfect SAT score, etc., they need the money, and they apply for either financial aid or they apply for scholarships. And what he did was terrible. He made a promise to the whole class, and unless you're a multimillionaire, you can't give. You know how expensive college is. You can't pay for all that, and it was just so uncomfortable and awful, and there wasn't anything to like about it. So I gave it an F2, and so go ahead, Marco.
My next episode is in the D tier, and that is Secretary's Day. I hate this episode. I really wanted to put it in the F tier, but I think it is better than the Carpet episode, and I don't think the Carpet episode is F tier. Maybe. So, maybe that'll change. The reason why I don't like this episode is, again, they built up that whole Andy and Aaron relationship, and then she finds out that, and number one, she's weird. Aaron is probably my least favorite character on The Office, or maybe second or third least favorite. She is so annoying and weird, and she's childish, and she is not like a real person to me. Like, there'll be these little moments, like in this episode, where like they try to make it seem like she's like a grown up, but it's like the way she acts all the time. It's like, no, you can't fool me into having this cartoon character act grown up for a couple of seconds. And the whole thing with like, she's so upset that Andy didn't tell her that he was engaged to Angela. It's bizarre. It's really bizarre. I don't even know what to say. I mean, the only thing that I liked was how Michael was like, God, this bitch was crazy, because he,
Which was interesting. He says, I think he even told her, I like Pam better.
Yeah.
Like that. And that really wasn't a good thing to say.
But I agree, though. I like Pam better, too, because she wasn't a cartoon character. Safi, what's your next one?
Well, I just wanted to say, too, we find out that Erin was a foster child, which means she has a challenging past, and it may have had something to do with her behavior, the way she acted. And so, even though I kind of agree with Marco, because she acts stupid.
I know that as well.
She acts stupid and drives me crazy.
She acts too stupid, though, sometimes. She acts too cartoony, and it's not because of her past, it's because of bad writing.
Well, that too. So, I mean, I don't know how that would affect somebody. I've never known a foster child, but we don't know what her real past is.
That doesn't matter, Safi. Does her past excuse her bad jokes or her stupid things that she does? Like, it doesn't make any sense what you're saying, Safi. Like, yeah, it might excuse a couple of things, but like, no, that's not an excuse for why her character is garbage.
Okay, well, I just wanted to say now that
you don't even like Erin. You hated her. You admitted it to me, too.
I don't like her in this show.
Yeah!
I liked her in that other show, and I still haven't found out the name of it, where she gets rescued after being held underground
See,
for
guys,
several
Safi,
years.
she's arguing with me about something that she agrees about.
But I think there's an explanation for her behavior.
No.
Okay, Marco.
Not entirely. Only like 40%. There's a 60% that's like, what the hell is up with her? Because you know that in season 5, she was just a bland little side character going down to Cafe Disco. Like, she wasn't a character at all, basically. And they were like, what do we do with this character? Let's make her a cartoon.
Okay, well,
that's what they did.
I just wanted to say for my season, I gave 3 Fs, 9 Ds, 5 Cs, 5 Bs, and 2 As.
Well, why don't you go on to your next episode then? Because I want to hear what other episodes are F tier.
Okay. Well, my next F episode is Double Date.
Oh.
And I thought this was a horribly uncomfortable, miserable episode where Jim and Pam go out with Pam's mom and Michael. Remember, they hooked up at their wedding, and so they're together. And she finds out about that they're together right before they go out, and she's furious. So there's already a bad vibe, really bad, because she's mad. And Jim knew because he had just found out right before they.
That's a different episode, Safi. That's the lover episode. The double date episode, she's already knowing and she's fine with it. Remember?
Okay, well, I gave it an F. I'll just say that. Okay?
Okay. Well, I'm just telling you, Safi, I mean, that's not the right episode. The lover episode is the one where she finds out and doesn't like it. That's the whole episode. That's what it's all about. And then the double date one, she's accepted that he's dating her, or she's tolerating it. And she only gets mad when he breaks up with her. So anyways, the next episode for me is in the C tier. It's the manager and the salesman. Safi, can you kind of refresh me about because I literally I don't know
Which episode?
the manager and the salesman.
Oh, okay.
Like, what one is that? Because like I can barely remember it. That just goes to show how mediocre it is.
I think this is when what happens is, they have this.
I'm gonna look it up.
They're in a bad
Safi's.
way, and the company Dunder Mifflin's going out of business. And what had happened before the end was Jim was co-manager, but then they find out they're being taken over by Saber, and Saber and Pam read the book, the handbook, the employee handbook.
Oh yeah, I found it.
And
Okay.
she finds out that salesmen make more money.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I did not like this episode because I was just about to say I loved the Jim as manager storyline. I felt like this was the natural progression for his character, and for them to just throw it away like that is kind of a big fuck you. I hated this episode because also you had the stupid thing with Andy and the Valentine's cards where he gave the one to Kelly, he wanted to give to Aaron. It's just like, oh, come on. And
I
I
wondered about that. I didn't understand it. I guess I kind of missed it or something when
Oh,
when
God.
a sentence was said.
how did you miss that?
But I mean,
Safi?
Andy makes this entire announcement to the whole office.
Yeah, that was cringeworthy.
That was weird.
It was cringeworthy. He's like, yeah, I like you, everyone, but I don't like you. And I think my favorite line of the episode was probably Oscar, because he was like, oh, what are we, 5 or something? Like and I thought that was funny. So,
What did that sound?
but that was cringe. So I hated how Jim was not the manager anymore. This is, in my opinion, where season 6 drops off, because I think that Jim should have stayed manager. They should have both been managers. I looked up because I thought at first co-managers does seem weird, but there are co-managers.
Oh yeah, sure there are.
And so that whole thing with Joe saying that co-managers, like what that's you're only doing half a job, like that's BS. So I hated that. Safi?
I gave it a higher grade, but we'll come to that later. But that's when Kathy Bates is introduced, like in person, I think, or she's on the speakerphone or whatever you want to call it.
Oh yeah, wasn't that gross cringeworthy thing where Joe's dog sniffed Andy's crotch and everything? Like that was weird too. Like just God. There's just so much weirdness with Andy and Aaron this season. It's like, ugh. You go from Michael and Holly, who are like completely perfect, to Andy and Aaron, and it's like, wah, wah, wah. Safi, what's your next episode?
My next one's Happy Hour.
Oh.
And I hated it because Michael, that's just number one, he decides that he's going to take on different personas. So I can't remember what he calls himself.
Date Mike.
Oh,
Nice
Date
to
Mike.
meet
I was
me.
going to say dancing.
How do you like your eggs in the morning?
But he just acted, he didn't. So Pam had gotten a blind date for him. And it was a single parent.
Yeah.
And she was a good-looking girl. She
Yeah.
wasn't, like he criticized the lady that she had brought before, who was apartment manager?
The
or something.
landlord.
Landlord.
But they dressed that woman down. They dressed her down. They made her wear ugly colors and stuff.
Yeah.
To make her look worse than she actually did. So.
But this woman was okay, and she was youngish and everything,
And Michael ruined it.
and he ruined it, and he just he acted like somebody else, which he was trying to be somebody else. Why? I don't know. He thought it would be real cute and everybody would love it.
And see, I didn't get that. I didn't get the persona that he was doing. Like, a lot of people, they thought that the date Mike was really funny, and I just,
like it.
I don't get it. I didn't get what he was trying to do, so it didn't connect with me.
And he was playing pool, and he was running into people with his pool cue. Like ramming into them, and really dangerous. And he got in so much trouble that the bar person manager was close to having him thrown out, and he convinces her not to do it, but it was close. So go ahead.
My next episode of St. Patrick's Day, what could have been a really fun, funny holiday episode turned into a really poor episode where I just did not like the way that Joe was in this episode. Kathy Bates' character, I didn't like how Michael was being
ingratiating,
overly enthusiastic about being friends with her. I didn't like that stuff at all. And then the thing with, like, she's forcing them all to stay late. Like, you can't do that. In real life, you can't just force employees to stay late like you're Scrooge in A Christmas Carol without, like, giving them overtime, right, Safi? Like, in this setting, like, she would not be able to keep them until, like, 1 o'clock in the morning or something.
Well, she obviously, and I think she even said something to the effect, but in a different way. She's a workaholic, and
but
she said she's successful being that way, but that's not right for her to make everybody else a workaholic on Friday night.
And she knew it was
St. Patrick's Day,
a holiday, and especially for this area, it's a very important holiday. Her character should have known better. So,
yeah,
really,
that wasn't very amenable to the rest of them, not knowing the place, the employees, the place, the Scranton, what they do there.
What's your next episode, Safi?
Okay, my next episode is a shareholder meeting, and this is again and this is where my D's start. This is where Michael gets, they send a limo to Dunder Mifflin, and he and Dwight and Creed and Andy and Oscar all go to, Creed gets off, but the rest of them go to the meeting, and Michael really is only supposed to be the one there, and he's going to be there representing a company, one of the company's groups that's successful. And he makes an ass out of himself. And he puts the company people in a terrible bind because he said, we're going to get this all figured out and everything's going to be fine. And the other people, his boss, none of them, they don't have it all figured out. And they're not going to be able to work out something that grandiose in 15 minutes or 5 minutes, because he says it because everybody is in there, they're mad, they're yelling, they're arguing. It's a very unpleasant thing, and Michael makes it worse. In fact, I think he just about causes a riot. So that's what I gave it. A D, a low D, the lowest D.
My next episode is Saber. Again, this is like a turning point in the season. Don't like the episode. The only thing I like, of course, is Suck It. That was really funny. I love the son playing the drums and everything. And so I liked all that stuff. In fact, I wish that David Wallace would have played a bigger role into the rest of the season. Like seeing him outside of the workplace setting, I thought was really, really funny and fun. Safi didn't even see it, but he was eating like a marshmallow sandwich or something, and I really like seeing him being like not so formal as he usually is. So I wish he was a bigger part. Safi?
Okay, this is number 20. My number 20 is another D. It's gossip. And Marco may like this, but it just reminds me of living in a small town. If anybody around you knows, or what it's like to live in a small town, and where, something is found out and then the whole town knows in an hour. They show this on Andy Griffith a lot about gossip and Little House on the Prairie. And anyway, he starts spreading rumors about everybody in the office. I thought it was so queer and weird. And they're like, and people start believing it, and it's just gossip. He's just making stuff up. I mean, he's like a little child.
Yeah.
and I just can't stand it. It just makes me want to vomit. And sometimes, his behavior is so bad, I just have to shut the episode off
I disagree.
and gear myself up to watch the rest.
It's really funny.
Marco may have a different opinion, but I really didn't like it.
It's a comedy show.
I don't like it.
At least he's not annoying like Aaron.
I don't know about that.
My next episode is Body Language. This episode was okay. It was nothing to write home about. There were some good jokes. I liked it when Michael was doing that presentation PowerPoint, where he was putting up pictures of quote unquote attractive guys next to pictures of him, and then at the end, he tried to do like a subliminal type of thing where he just had the word sex on the screen and it flashed for 1 second and turned off, and I thought that was hilarious. I thought it was funny when he ate the mint off of her hand. And I also kind of liked how Pam was trying to help him with this woman he's interested in, because it was a lot better than earlier on in the season where she was acting so childish when he was dating her mother. I liked the turn with her character there. So it was just okay. Safi, what's next?
Well, the next one for me is The Chump. That's 19.
Well, that's my next one, so we'll just talk about it at the same time.
Okay, well, first of all, Angela and Dwight had made this contract
Yeah, I think that story's stupid.
about having a child together, but Dwight decided not to do it because his son, this woman who was Pam's friend at the wedding, they got together during the wedding, and anyway, she came to visit Pam and Jim because they had the baby, and so he ran into her, and so after that, Dwight was all, he just wanted to be with her, and he didn't want to be with Angela. He wanted to back out of the contract. So they had some kind of, what would you call, mediation, and they even brought somebody in who was like a mediation lawyer, and it's just weird what they come up with. And isn't this the one, too, where Michael tells that woman goodbye, or...
Yeah, at the end. And so,
at the end.
This episode, it concluded what I think is one of the worst storylines of the season. The worst storyline is the diabolical plan. Safi, can you make a note of that so that we can just dedicate a few minutes to talking about how shitty that was? But first off, this was just another okay episode. I was glad that they ended the stupid Donna storyline, which I didn't like at all. The actress was okay, but she didn't really fit well with Michael, and yeah, I didn't like the episode. I did like, though, Andy, because I liked how Andy was really concerned about what was going on because of what happened with him and Angela, and so I liked how he forced Michael to confront the coach guy. But that was just, of course, just not... I don't know. I don't like the episode. So, Safi, what's the next one?
Next one's number 18. It's Secretary's Day.
Ugh.
Now, Marco did not care for it, as you already heard. And, of course, this is still in my D range, too. I used to be a secretary, and... I don't recall. Now, we're on the 6th season, and Pam had been the, quote, receptionist / secretary, even though they really didn't have a secretary, but she did secretarial things like make copies, etc. Little things. And so Andy likes Aaron, and he tells everybody, don't forget Aaron's Secretary's Day. So everybody gets her a present. But anyway, Michael takes her, and Andy says, why don't you take her to lunch, which is normal for Secretary's Day. A lot of bosses take their secretaries out. And anyway, it ends up, he tells her that Andy had been engaged to Angela. And so she had a fit. And the rest of the day was just a miserable experience.
And Safi, was that really a big deal? I mean, it was.
No, I didn't understand why she got all upset, but I don't know. But I think it would have been better if Andy would have told her that
Yeah.
instead of Michael.
It was just a weird thing of like why that had to be the tipping point. Like why after all that build up to them being together, you just F it up like that. I didn't like that.
And he had ample opportunity to tell her. So it was just not very good. So,
My next episode is the cover up. What was this episode about?
okay, well that is
I'll look it up.
that's pretty low for me too.
Oh, okay. I thought this is another Donna episode. Ugh.
This is the beginning, the beginning of it.
I thought it was really funny, Dwight investigating and going to the gym with her. I really love seeing Dwight in the gym messing around. But other than that, this episode's a pile of garbage. I don't like the Donna story. So, Safi, what's your next episode?
Well, the cover-up will be the one after this, but my number 17 is New Leads. And when I say new leads, these are potential customers that will buy the printer. Because now that Sabre has taken over, they not only sell printers or paper, they sell these special printers. And so in order to do this, they get these things called leads, and they give them, the woman, the CEO gives, or maybe Gabriel gave Michael a whole stack of leads, which is these old papers. And so the salespeople in the office are all crazy, and they want those leads because they're having kind of a competition, and they're like really gung-ho into selling because they're making money and that they didn't make before. But nobody else gets the benefit of any of that. And so Michael doesn't like the way they act because they're acting kind of selfish, and it's just promoting a lot of discord. And so it's the whole episode is about the discord amongst all the employees in the office, where they've kind of been more united and friendly to each other. And Michael was adding fuel to the fire. And it's another thing, as I was saying, he just drives me crazy. So it's called New Leads. So that's it.
My next episode and my last C tier episode is the Lover.
God.
I thought, I used to really hate this episode because of how Pam acted. But then after watching it again, I kind of felt like she did kind of realize at the end that she was overreacting. And so I like that. And I thought the episode was actually really funny, though. Like, it had a lot of funny moments, especially when he first told Jim. And he was like, her car seat goes all the way back. And I mean, all the way back. And he's, slamming his hand down on the table. And, and then he's like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to date her even harder. And she's like, what's that supposed to mean? It's like, you know exactly what that means. It's just like, this episode has some really... And then the thing with later on where she calls him in the middle of a meeting, and then he picks up the phone, and he's like, oh no, nobody talks to my little baby that way. He's like, bye, Pickle. He hangs up the phone, and then comes back and is like, Pam, you are not to talk to your mother that way. You have upset her a lot. And that whole thing was really fit. So I thought this episode had a lot of good jokes in it, even though I thought it was... I didn't like the thing with, like, remember when she's like, I couldn't give a shit about your happiness, stop dating my mother? Like, I didn't like lines like that. Because I felt like, you know what, Pam? That's a shitty thing to say. So... Safi?
Well, it's really none of her business, too.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we just talked about this episode, the cover-up. It's number 16.
Yeah.
I still have it in the D tier. And the thing is, Dwight is really terrible in this episode. But so is Michael.
But he's funny.
Michael acts like a baby again, and what happens is Pam's got this feeling about this woman that something's not right, and they feel, but they don't, and so do some of the other employees, and they fill Michael with so much doubt that he wants Dwight. He thinks that she is cheating on him, because that's what this is about. And so he has Dwight follow her. I mean, he goes to the gym inside with her, and harasses her, and I mean, really like sexually harasses her.
It's funny.
Anyway.
And then it's even funnier when he comes back and he's like, "Also, I joined the gym. You'll be billed monthly." And he puts the gym bill on it.
I thought they gave that to him, but they almost called the police.
And then Michael's like,
He's so bad.
I'm not paying for that membership.
I thought that was funny. But it ends up that he brings home good news, but then they find out later that because Pam has a Facebook friend who's friends with her, and so she's able to access her photographs and sees pictures of her with another man. So anyway.
So you're still on the D tier?
Oh yeah.
Well, see, and it's funny too because people are always like, Safi is so much nicer than Marco, and Marco's so negative and mean.
I hate
and
Michael.
It's like, I've only given 1 D and 1 F for this season.
Well, I have 3 more D's after this, so.
Well, I have a lot of B's now.
I bet.
So, my first B is shareholder meeting. I thought this episode's kind of like a episode, like it's at the very low end of the B tier. But I thought that it had a lot of funny moments. It had a lot of good jokes that kind of hold it above the others, that put it in a different league than the others. Like, I really loved the joke at the end where Dwight waited all day to get on the microphone, and instead of complaining about the management or about talking about Michael or anything, he chooses to complain about the lines. And he's like, how about we... If how these lines are being run is, or wait, how does he say it? He's like, if the way these lines are being run is any indication of how this company is being run, then we are in serious trouble. And it was another moment too where it kind of felt like it was paralleling that Dwight speech episode in season 2.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the one where he was accidentally getting all that support for, you know, doing the Mussolini speech. And so I kind of felt like that was another really cool throwback. Because and then people realized, oh, he really is just talking about the lines. Like, he's not talking about the company. So I thought that was really, really funny, and other things too. And I liked at the end too how Michael realized, you know, these people are a bunch of jackasses. They don't appreciate me, and then they all get in the limo after the senator wanted them to not have the limo ride home. I thought that was cool too. Safi?
Okay,
What's
my next one is, I'm still in the D tier. Like I said, I have 3 more. And it's the promotion. It's number 15. And Jim gets a promotion. Well, first, there's a lot more to that. He didn't just get it. But this is when they're still with Dunder Mifflin. He meets with the head guy. And then Michael doesn't know what's going on there. And he wants the money because they're going to have a baby. He feels like they need to make more money. And so Michael, how should I say it? He eps it up. Sorry about that. I didn't say it, though, for real. By getting this file out that Dwight has made or complained about, because they have this thing, you know, they prank each other, and Jim loves to prank Dwight because he takes himself way too seriously.
Yeah.
And so, you know, those are funny, actually, when he does those things. The things that he's done in the past seasons, it's hilarious.
I think this season, though, probably one of the biggest downfalls of this season is I think this is the least amount of times he's ever pranked Dwight per season.
Well, he says that, too. He says, I can't do this
Yeah.
like I used to.
He had to be manager. And so And you know what? That should be another complaint then. Someone else. They should have had an episode called Jim's Protege, where he approached everyone in the office and he tried to say, like, look, I'm going to be manager, and so someone's going to have to take the reins for me and prank Dwight, and I'm going to pretend like I discipline you, and I'm going to have to pretend like I care. And so because then it would have been funny because someone else could have, like, pranked Dwight the whole season instead of Jim, and you still could have had a bunch of funny pranks. What do you think about that, Safi? Should they have done that?
I think maybe Jim was trying to leave it open that he might be able to have time to do it, but he really didn't.
Yeah.
And so anyway, Jim doesn't get the promotion right away because he finds out Michael has sabotaged it. So he ends up, he gets really pissed off, and because he finds out what Michael did. And anyway, he ends up getting it, so he's now co-manager. And Marco looked that up and found out, yes, there are co-managers.
Yeah.
I could have told him that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they talk about, people talk about this all the time. They'll say in a company, there's too many cooks in the kitchen, and which causes, and that means the people underneath aren't getting raises because there's too many managers getting all the money. And so that's,
but the
you hear
important,
about this all the time.
the important context was that Dunder Mifflin Scranton was having to take on a lot more clients and a lot more because the other branches closed. And so that's the context that, like, why was Joe ignoring that context? You know? Like, it clearly, at that point, you needed to have two managers.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I'm not disagreeing with there needing to be two managers.
I know.
But the rest of the people in the office didn't like it. So, go ahead.
My next episode is The Meeting. This is another...
Me too.
Oh, this is another low B tier episode.
Oh, this is one of my D.
Oh, well, it's just like another episode where it's like, like, I mean, that's the episode. It's The Meeting, where Jim is meeting with David about something unknown, and Michael has to get in there and figure it out. I guess the only thing I thought was funny was when Andy made the cheese tray, or the cheese platter, whatever, because it was so, like, that was such an Andy thing to do. So, but other than that, like, and then, of course, this is the episode where at the end, I think the way that David pitched the idea was the most stupid part, because he was like, so hey guys, we were talking upstairs and we kind of had this little weird idea, how would you feel about two managers, like something like that. And it's like, that's really not a good way to say that. Like, it's clear that there needed to be more than one manager. And so, like, should have just said that. Like, you know what? We've been rethinking things, and we think there needs to be two. So not just like, oh, there's this little weird idea we were kicking around. Like,
and they didn't respect that.
Yeah.
And they didn't like it that Jim... They thought he was getting something over them, and especially Dwight is very jealous. Well, I have the same thing. So The Meeting is my next number 14. It's my next to the last D. I guess it's a higher D. So, go ahead.
My next episode is New Leads. And I dislike this episode and like it at the same time. I think it starts off badly. I didn't like how the salesmen were acting. They were acting really full of themselves, and they're acting like jerks. But I liked it when Michael did the scavenger hunt with the leads. I thought there were some really funny things there, like, where...
Except he screwed it up.
Where Dwight comes in, and he tells him to go to the man who never breathes. And he goes to Kevin, and Kevin says they're in the trash, and he tells Meredith to take off her clothes. And then also, I've been waiting a couple of seasons to say this. The fight that Michael and Dwight had in the dump was actually a much better fight than the fight that they had in the fight episode in season 2.
Yeah, that
So,
reminded me of that whole thing.
Yeah. I like that part.
Because the rest of the staff who were fighting amongst themselves, they worked it out. While those two were off at the dump looking for the trash that was taken by the garbage company. And they were never going to find it because if you seen, I mean, they showed the whole effing dump and they were out there in the middle of it and they weren't going to find it. And they were fighting, they were throwing garbage at each other, Dwight and Michael. And so, they, you know, like Marco said, they worked it out. So
Yeah.
you had them working out. It reminded me of that episode Marco's talking about. And
But it
then
was
the rest
better.
And the rest of the staff, yeah, it was better. The rest of the staff worked the other
They work
the
it
other
out.
issues
Yeah.
on their own,
So
which they usually do.
I thought that was all great. I just
yeah,
didn't
that
like.
part was good.
I just didn't like how the salesman acted in the beginning. Safi?
Okay, well, my next one is, I'm sorry, Secret Santa. It's number 13. And I was really sad that I had this bad attitude about it, but, you know, at the end it ends up okay. But the 3/4 of it is Michael acting like a baby. And he's ruining everything. And I like these, the last season, I think I put the Christmas episode probably number 1
Mm-hmm.
or 2 because it was really good. And this one, you know, Jim is doing his little co-manager thing and trying to get people to be, trying to do things that they would like and that they would want. And he meets with each one-on-one, and he finds out Phyllis just wants to be Santa Claus at the Christmas party. Big deal. But Michael's always been Santa Claus. He gets all mad. And the whole episode, he's throwing a tantrum. and he invites, he goes down to the warehouse, and he invites the whole warehouse up to the Christmas party, which they did not have enough food for everybody because they had not planned for them to be there. And he dresses
That was all. That was all deleted, Safi.
Oh.
That whole they were there in the episode, but the whole detail about them not having enough food was deleted. So that's not officially a part of the episode.
And then Michael, he's pretending like, I guess he's pretending like he's Jesus or something.
Yeah.
And I thought that I just wanted to vomit. The only reason it kind of turns out everybody else really is trying hard to make it a good Christmas party for everybody, but Michael, he's the only one, and in the end, he makes up for it. He realizes he made a mistake, and he says it. He admits it, but it ruined the episode for me.
My next episode is the delivery. Ugh. This episode has some good jokes. I really like the joke where they were talking, or Pam was wanting to stay there as long as possible at the office, and they were talking about the things that you can do to induce labor, and like, oh, let's do the opposite of those things. And I liked how Kevin suggested that they stick spicy foods up her you-know-what, and like, I thought that was hilarious. But this episode, for all the funny jokes that it has about 1 million cringeworthy things. I really, really didn't like the nurse at the hospital.
No, I didn't either.
That woman who's just completely like, oh, I'm a nurse and my job is so great. You know, she was so deadpan that it was like, oh, they thought this would be funny that she was like this bad of a nurse. But I didn't think it was funny. I just really did not like that character. And, oh yeah, and I love the part where Michael parks his car in the wrong area and then he throws his keys so that they can't repark it. So again, though, I don't know, it's okay. Safi, what's next for you? What is you
But
guys?
I couldn't close
guys,
it because that plastic piece was too high up.
Safi, all you have to do if it's too high up is to force it down. You know,
couldn't do that either.
it was really fun. You know, you could have. I could have done it for you. That guys, you should have seen it. Safi just like took the plastic ring off the bottle and it like fell off. It was really hilarious the way it happened. It was completely unnecessary. Should have just left it to me because I know all about water bottles.
Yeah, he really does. Okay, well, I'm officially out of the D's, and I'm into the C's now.
Oh, wow.
And my next one is the Lover, which I think Marco rated this low.
I gave it a C+. plus.
Okay, well, you gave it a C. So I'm giving it a C, too, but I'm giving it, it's the lowest C. And I think this is the thing with the, I'm sorry, the relationship between Michael and Pam's mom. And I thought it was really, I mean, it was just like, I don't want to talk about, I don't want to get into any specifics like that, but I thought it was nice in a certain way, but, you know, you knew it wasn't going to be a permanent thing, and I just hated the way he treated her in the end, and I just really, but it wasn't too bad.
Oh.
But, anyway.
Oh. Wait a second. I skipped an episode.
Did you? Okay,
Yeah.
well, that was my number 12, so go ahead.
I skipped Double Date, which is also I would give a B. I put it lower than the delivery. You know what? I didn't like this episode in the past, but I thought it was really, really funny. And I thought, like, it was just like, yeah, they didn't fit well together anyway. You know, he fit with Holly, and, excuse me. And, but I still thought it was really funny. I think this was the episode 2, where they're all in the car, and then all of a sudden Michael stops the car and he runs out, and he says, "Chinese fire drill!" And he runs out, and I looked up, and apparently that's a real thing.
It is.
I didn't even know, like, what that was before. But, like, that was really hilarious, like, just randomly doing that. Like, what the hell is that, Safi?
It's something that high school kids or younger would do. Well, probably high school kids. A long time ago. I mean, back when I was growing up.
This is funny stuff, Safi.
Maybe even older than that. Okay, well, so that was, I don't know which one you missed, but I did
Double Date was the one I missed.
I did number 12. So number 11 is body language. And that girl from the bar, the manager, she comes in because she's doing a sale. They're trying to, with Pam and Jim as a team, they're trying to sell her a printer. And but Michael's got to horn in on there because, you know, he's interested in her, and he harasses her, basically. And I know Marco might not agree, but I mean, it was disrespectful, and you'd never do that.
No.
He was wrecking the sale.
Yeah.
But fortunately, she likes him, and she's attracted to him for some odd reason. And you just don't do that. It's disrespectful and rude. But anyway.
Well, see, Safi misses the part where, when she says that, like, I act as if I didn't complain about it. Well, I just thought, I looked at it in a funny way. It wasn't very cringeworthy to me because I knew that she liked him. And also, there was that story in season 5 where Andy did the same thing with that one customer where he flirted with her, and I thought that was super awkward, and I didn't like that at all. But I thought that this was like the better version of that, so that's what I was saying.
And when they say body language, everybody, you know, they have blinds on their windows to their offices, or well, to his office, and he had them open, so the rest of the staff is watching. And they're trying to figure out, is she into him? And so that's why it's called body language. It's it all has to do with that. And of course, Michael is completely misreading it because he's a dip, you know what. And so that's what I say. Watch these episodes, and he acts like a baby or he acts like a twit, and I have to shut it off and like get myself geared up to watch it. So, okay, go ahead. It's number 10.
My next episode is Murder.
Me too.
I thought this was a great episode. I thought it was very funny. It was a great idea.
I gave it a C. But
It shows that Michael's a lot smarter than people think he is. Safi.
I don't care. I don't
And
like him. He's dummy. He's a dummy.
Tube City, Safi.
But what
Remember
was,
that?
What was interesting about this episode, though, I thought it was interesting thing that he did. Every time he had some huge disappointment in his life, like Jan, what's her name, Holly.
He would play a game.
He had this whole cupboard in his office of games.
Yeah.
And he'd say, I did this when Holly and I broke up.
I would not have gotten through my breakup with Holly if not for Toss Across.
And then he did something else when Jan and him broke up. And so I thought that was interesting. I did like that.
Yeah. See, Safi? It's a good episode.
But it didn't. The way it started out, it's like he's being childish.
No, he
with
wasn't.
This game, but
No.
it really was a distraction. And they do remember. I don't think it was it was a few seasons ago. They did that thing in the Olympics, you know, when
The Office Olympics.
They all felt like just playing games, and they all were in the same level and frame of mind. So this all kind of knocked them all into the same frame of mind, and they were all getting into it. And that was nice, but I still gave it a C.
Well, my next episode is Happy Hour. Despite Date Mike, I thought this was a really funny episode.
Ugh.
I actually had something happen with playing pool that was exactly like what Date Mike did on purpose, where I was in Chicago with a friend of my uncle's, and we were at a game place, and I was playing pool, and I wasn't doing it correctly, and I made the white ball knock another ball up into the air and off the table. But he was actually able to catch the ball before it even landed on the floor. And so it was just funny because that was like that. But also, I thought this episode had a great joke where it was actually a blooper, and Safi never guessed it. Where Dwight was walking with Isabel, and he was like checking her out and trying to see if she would be a good girlfriend or wife or whatever. And then all of a sudden, Angela's behind him, and she scares him, and he's like, "Oh shit!" He gets scared, and that was a blooper. That was actually him reacting to her, just being right behind him.
Remember
and
that.
I thought that was a genius moment. That like I'm so glad that happened because like that was hilarious. And then the thing with Isabel pretending she was a mole and playing whack-a-mole with her.
Yeah.
That was funny. So because I don't like Angela and Dwight. I think Angela is bad. I don't like her. I think Isabel is a better fit for Dwight.
Yeah. And that's the big girl I was referring to, too.
Yeah, she's a big girl, right, Safi?
She's very tall. She actually she fits more with Dwight than Angela, who's a little twerp.
Well, Angela's just a bitch. So
Well, she's a hypocrite. A huge hypocrite.
yeah, she's the worst because she feels like a real person. A lot more than Dwight at this moment. Like, Dwight kind of seasons ago, he got too over the top to where it's like, yeah, a version of him might be real, but like Angela, like there's a lot of Angelas.
Yes, there are. And you hear about them all the time. I won't say anything else about that, but let's see. So that was number 10? Or no, 9. Okay, so my number 9 is St. Patrick's Day. and it's still a C. I'm in the C's. I have 2 more of it, this one and the next one. And the thing I liked about this, the bad thing was that we already talked about this. Kathy Bates trying to keep everybody late because she's a workaholic.
Yeah.
And Michael finally, 2 people got out of it because they said they were sick. And she didn't, and they pretended like they were coughing like I do. And she didn't want them to be there spreading their germs. So they got out, but then the rest of them, everybody wanted to go to this big party at this bar. And this was an episode where Meredith dressed the nicest I ever have seen her dress. Before she'd wear this crap clothes and be too short, and they would, she'd not wear any underwear, or she wore underwear, and they would make like the scene, they would, fuzzy it out so you wouldn't see anything, or she had her top on too tight, or it's going to fall off, and so, but this was, she was dressed up to go out, and this was her thing. She has bright red hair, so she must be, even in real life, she's part Irish or German. She has bright red hair. It's not fake. So, anyway, I just like the way the staff was together, and even though most of the episode isn't so great, I just liked how they were all together, except for and those 2 sick ones, and Michael acting like a jackass. And they were all happy and having a good time, and I thought that was neat. So, that's all I have to say about it.
My last B episode is the promotion. I thought, this episode was a great episode with Jim as manager. Again, I really liked Jim as manager. I liked how they had a problem. They were not going to be able to give everyone a raise. And so they had to figure out a way to split it up, which would be a really, really hard thing to do in real life, because everyone deserves a raise. Well, except for Aaron. I'm just kidding. But, that was a real problem, and I liked how they both tried to problem solve it together. And I liked how, Jim did the pro and con list. I liked the thing where they did the bean game thing. And I actually tried that too, and I thought it was not very. It didn't work very well, because every round where you go around and put a bean on a picture, you think too much about, I put this many beans on that picture, so that means this picture won't get as many beans. You think too much about it, whereas it was meant to be like an instinctual thing. But we will, this is kind of an announcement, at the end of this series, instead of ranking the characters the way we normally would, we are going to play the bean game with the characters and put beans on their pictures. Jelly beans.
Okay.
To rank them. So suck on that, Safi. What's your next episode, Safi? Is it,
Okay, my last
Bean
episode
game?
is The Banker. And I really didn't watch it because Marco told me not to.
Yeah, I didn't put this episode on the board. I'm not ranking it. It's a clip show, so it doesn't count.
And one thing that I liked about it, even though I didn't watch, but I did notice who's in it, is the guy from Breaking Bad, the guy who was making meth.
Yeah, Gale.
And he's in it, and he plays the investment banker, and I like him. So
Yeah.
I just saw him on YouTube doing some kind of video or something.
It's too bad the episode was a clip show.
That was my number 8, my last C.
They could have given him a good character, and it could have been good.
Yeah.
My next episode is Whistleblower, and that is an
so
A.
Is mine.
And now Whistleblower, I thought it was a pretty good finale. In fact, let's see. I'm not sure. I'm really not. I guess this is like my second favorite finale so far. It's not as good as Goodbye Toby, but I did really like it. I liked how I liked the storyline with the whistleblower. I thought it was pretty funny. I liked how my favorite part was the IT guy, because he just said F you to everyone,
Yeah, he did.
and he revealed all their secrets, and he stormed off, and I thought, that was probably the best moment of the season, because this was a character that was a nothing, and then he left such a good impression that it's like, yeah, good job. Safi? Oh yeah,
Okay.
talk about whistleblower?
Yeah, well, I thought it was a good representation as a finale.
Yeah.
And what was funny is this whistleblower, I didn't really understand that Andy was officially the whistleblower, but I didn't really think that he was. I mean, he did make this video, but, whistleblower usually tells some kind of higher up organization something's going on, and he didn't really do that. And then you find out that all these other employees had told people about the printer problem. He wasn't the only one, and so everybody was having a fit. But it all because of this video he made. The CEO found out about it, Kathy Bates, and so she was going to fire him, and Michael prevented all that from happening, all that problem.
I like that.
By saying, you shouldn't have had these horrible Chinese printers made. And that's on you. And instead of getting rid of good employees, you should be getting rid of the printer and have it made somewhere else or by someone else. So I thought that was good. It was my number 7, my low B. Go ahead.
My next episode is Koi Pond.
Oh,
I thought this was a really funny episode. I could watch this episode really at any time, and I have watched it at any time before. It's just a funny episode. I mean, I liked. I think my favorite part is actually the deleted scene, which is where they show the full footage of him falling into the koi pond, because the full deleted thing is like really hilarious. It's hilarious how Michael's like. He's pretending he's drowning, and he grabs onto the plant, and he pulls the plants into the pond, and it's really, really good. It's definitely like the funniest moment of the season, in my opinion. Safi?
okay, well this is, my next one is the delivery. It's my number 6, so it's a B, because I have like 5 Bs. Now, what year was this season?
I don't know. Why didn't you look that
Well,
up?
I had my first boy in 1988, and the thing is, a lot of the things that they faced with this HMO, we have the same thing.
2009 to 2010.
Okay, well, the nurse was a sucky BIT.
Yeah.
I'm really swearing tonight, trying to prevent myself from saying the whole thing. But she was so unsupportive, and I kind of had, I had a little bit of that too. Not a mean nurse, but they had this thing, and I worked at the University of Illinois Medical School. I think they still do this, but they have somebody on staff. They go and they check on all the people in the beds, and they try to get them out as soon as possible. And their deal, instead of this thing with Pam and Jim, they had to go there, what was it, after midnight or something, and they would get an extra day as part of the deal. And we had a thing where if you got out, the sooner you got out, you got a steak dinner. And so you got 2 free steak dinners at a restaurant in town. So it wasn't that we needed the steak dinner, but I didn't want to stay in the hospital. I wanted to leave, get the heck out of there. So I was there like not even 24 hours. So, which is probably bad. But, I didn't really get good instruction on breastfeeding, and which they had a whole thing about that. I mean, that was a real big deal. And just some of it was good. I mean, it was funny. Michael tries to go in the room where she's giving birth, and you can hear her yelling. He lights up a cigar, and you could never do that anywhere in a hospital because of the oxygen tanks. And so I thought it was, in certain ways, it was apropos and funny just because I've been through the experience. It was totally unlike my second experience where I got to stay a couple days. And that was a different state and different insurance. And so, go ahead.
My next episode is Niagara.
Mm.
I thought this episode was funny from beginning to end. It had a lot of great moments. It was a very good episode for it being a wedding episode. I loved Dwight. He made that disc for Michael where it's like a seduction disc where it's like, hello, this is Dwight. And if you're listening to this, you are about to experience the best night of your life with Michael. And it's like, that was like the most bizarre but like hilarious thing ever. And then the thing with Kevin and his shoes, and the hotel had to burn them.
Because they smelled so bad.
The only thing I didn't like was the dancing thing. The whole last half of the second part of the episode is just the different employees dancing, basically. And apparently it's like parodying some kind of YouTube video. But here's the problem. Nobody knows what that video is.
I don't know what it is,
So,
but they did it on Glee, too.
The video's not... The episode's not good. Or at least that part of the episode. Because it's like, what is this? Like, it's just not... Like, that was a wasted part of the episode. That was a big waste.
Well, I liked it.
I didn't.
I know Marco, and he told me too, didn't like that, but
I hate it.
they did that on Glee for some couple of parents that got together, and all the Glee cast danced up the aisle, and I thought it was cool. And so when they did the same thing, I recalled that, and in a good way. But I have no idea what YouTube video they were talking about. I've never seen that anywhere. And when I watched that Glee episode, no one said anything about any YouTube video.
Oh, I see it. Well, I looked it up. It's JK Wedding Entrance Dance. See, I have no idea what that is. I don't.
See, what year is that?
2009. I don't think it was a good decision to parody that. I think it was interesting. All the employees got to have their own dances, I guess, but like just excuse me.
I thought it was cool, but
I didn't like it.
Okay, well, my next one, and we've already talked about it, so I don't think I'm going to go on about it.
Why?
My number 5 is the manager and the salesman.
Oh.
And, that's where they meet Kathy Bates, who's a really good actress. And she can do anything, and so she uplifts anything she does. I think. And then, Pam has read the book. Everybody's supposed to read this handbook. It seems like she's the only one who's read it. And tells Jim that it would be more profitable for him to be a salesman and not a manager.
Guess what they do next season, Safi?
What?
They put caps on commissions.
What?
They put a cap on commission.
Okay, I don't know if that's a thing, so I have no idea.
So
Did you look that up?
There's this whole story of like where Jim is like, well, now I don't have any incentive to sell because I've already reached my cap for the year. And so, that was retarded,
stupid.
and that's coming up. So, just saying.
Stupid. I don't get that either.
Well, my third best episode is Mafia. This episode I used to really hate. I used to think it's one of the worst episodes because of how stupid it is. But then I started rewatching it a lot, and I just think it's really, really hilarious. It's one of my go-to episodes. I love it when they go to the restaurant with the guy, and the way that they're all trying to interact with him and they're trying to get Michael not to buy insurance. It's really, really funny to me. It's nonstop
Well, the guy
laughs.
is really, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he was on The Sopranos.
Well, yeah, he was in Dumb and Dumber, and he played a similar type of character.
He's
and
perfect
so
for that kind of character.
it was great seeing him again, and just really, really good.
Okay, well, my next one's number 4, and it's B. I have 2 B's. And it's Saber, which Marco's already talked about.
Sabre?
And, no, that's really Saber.
Sabre?
It's not Sabre. It's
Sabre?
And they say that. They talk about that in the episode. But the employees don't like at first, they don't like the changes. Kathy Bates drops off a middleman named Gabe, or Gabriel. And he's kind of a dweeb. He doesn't really know what he's doing. I don't think he's had this kind of position very long because he doesn't act like he's had much experience, and so he does stupid stuff that's negative, and the employees don't like it. But I thought it was interesting and good, despite that, because they have to get used to the change. And they are lucky to have a job, because they could have had to go home like the bosses did and lose their jobs. So that's it. Go ahead.
My second best episode is Gossip. I think that this is a fantastic episode. I put it in the S tier. I think it is hilarious from beginning to end. The only thing I didn't like was the interns. I felt like their characters were just kind of like footnotes in the season, and they should have been in there longer. But like, this episode has so many funny moments, like the part where Andy's talking with Oscar about, like, is he gay or not, and he's like, let's talk about this hypothetical situation where Brad Pitt is trying to kiss me, and at first I resist, but he keeps on wanting to kiss me, and Oscar's like, so why is it in this hypothetical situation he's still trying to get at you? It's just really funny. And then the thing where Kevin was like, somebody has spread a rumor about me that there is a person inside of me working with me with controls. And that was really, really funny too. And so I love the episode. It's one of my go-to episodes. And of course, the intro is the best intro of the season. You know, the parkour intro, hardcore parkour. They're doing parkour and they're doing it terribly. And, you know, parkour was a big trend back then as well. So I love the episode. Give it a 10 out of 10. Safi?
Okay, well, my next one's the last B. It's number 3. And Marco just talked about it, so I don't know if I should really say much. It's Mafia. And the guy was just trying to, he's a hardcore salesman, pushing insurance on to Michael, and they're all scared. Michael, Dwight, and Andy, that this guy's from the Mafia, and he's trying to force him to get this insurance, and if he doesn't do it, they're going to do something bad to him. And they're coming up with all these fantasies and negative things, and none of them's true, but the guy does come off like he's from the Mafia or he's a crime boss or something. He has the accent, the look, and it's really hilarious. And then they find out because Dwight he's related to somebody in the I don't know.
Well, that was a joke, Safi, remember?
So it wasn't true. He doesn't have a...
Yes, Safi.
Well,
that was a lie.
They convinced Michael that he wasn't a member of the Mafia. And then Michael gets mad and he says, you're a liar, and says all this stupid stuff, and the guy's like, what the hell? But he said it to him on the phone. So Okay, go ahead.
My best episode of season 6 is Secret Santa. I think this episode is one of the best episodes of the series. I think it's hilarious. I love how Michael is upset Phyllis is Santa and how he throws a temper tantrum. I loved it when he had Kevin sits on his lap, and that was so hard to film that
was
like
funny. That
people
was near the end, so.
yeah, people were having to stand in front of other people so that you wouldn't see them laughing because that's how funny it was. And it was just perfect. It was gold. And then of course he pretends to be Jesus and he goes up to Toby and Toby's like, "Michael, this should be obvious how wrong this is." And he puts his hand on Toby's head and it's like it's burning on his head, and he's like, "Ah, the Antichrist." And then there's the part where Dwight was he got another part of that nutcracker machine thing, which I thought that was a strange gift. And Michael was like, "Oh, look, Dwight's got another piece of space garbage so he can build himself a friend."
Who was that supposed to be from?
Michael.
That's what I thought.
And so, but that was hilarious. I love the episode. I wish I could put it higher. I wish I could put this in the top 10 episodes of all time because it's just so funny and so good.
Oh, God.
Safi?
Okay, well, I have an extra one because Marco did not put the banker in his group.
Yeah.
So my number 2 is an A, and my number 1 is an A, of course. And my number 2 is Koi Pond, and it was hilarious because the thing was, the joke was on Michael, the butt of the joke, because he couldn't figure out his GPS, and instead of, having common sense about it, he turns too early and drives right in the pond.
Safi, that was in season 4. This is where Jim pushes him into the pond on purpose.
Oh, I didn't see that.
What?
No, I didn't see it.
Oh, Safi, it's in the fucking episode. You don't pretend. Surveillance. Let's get to the surveillance.
Well, anyway, Michael.
It's right here.
Oh,
I want you're gonna see it because you dare because they talked about it in the episode. All the employees looked at Jim.
They were all laughing and making jokes.
And then they saw that he did it, and they're like, "Oh God, that was a shitty thing you did." Here, look. Wait, come on. Let's get... Look, see? You're walking along, and he trips him in there, see? See that?
Yeah, I did see that.
That was bad, Safi. That wasn't where he had a GPS. That's season 4.
Oh, yeah, that's
see
right.
See how he pulled the plant in there?
Yeah, so I got confused again. I'm sorry.
That
wasn't funny, but it was funny when he went to the office and said, "What happened?" And Michael said, "I got caught in the rain." I didn't know he did that on purpose.
Yeah. That was the whole episode. The point of the episode.
Well, and everybody says, "Well, why isn't Jim wet?" And so
he's pulling him out.
They all were having a fit. It was just so funny. It was hilarious. I'm like, what the hell?
That was amazing.
He's all wet from head to toe. And they're all like, what the hell?
And then, of course, there's the part later on where Aaron is like, "Michael, you have some moss on you." And he's like, "Aaron, just shut up." And she's like, "No, there's really moss on you." And there's moss, like, on his neck. And he's like, "Oh, God!" It's like, that was really funny, too. So, did you like that, Safi? That was hilarious.
It was funny.
Well,
okay, well, so my number 1, so like I said, I have one extra because Marco did not put that banker episode in his list. For some reason, went back to the GPS thing because that was another thing, though, where Michael... But that was his fault, but this time it wasn't his fault. So there's it was funny. So my first episode, and number 1 is, I didn't know what else to put, is Niagara. And that's where Jim and Pam get married. And it's just, there's a lot to it. There's so many different storylines and levels and funny things with between Kevin's shoes, and they threw them out because they were so stinked up that they had to burn them. And he went down the aisle. You know, when they were dancing down the aisle, he was wearing shoe boxes on his feet. No, Kleenex boxes. And he said, this was a great conversation. This is the best wedding I've ever been to. I had these Kleenex box shoes, and they were a big conversation piece.
My dogs are burning! And he puts his feet in the ice.
In the ice machine that everybody uses.
Well, to be fair, I don't use the ice, typically. I
do. I don't think people would do that.
Even if you do, what do? You put it in the alcohol thing, and you put the alcohol in it, and it doesn't touch it. So, like, I wouldn't even mind if it was Kevin's feet ice. Like, if you just put a champagne bottle in the ice, I mean,
yeah.
Because then when you take the champagne bottle out, what do? You put a towel under the bottle when you open it up and everything. So, it really wouldn't matter.
Yeah, there was a lot of, like, Jim had several plans, like they were going to be in the church, they were going to do elope, or they were going to go by Niagara Falls and have the captain of the ship marry them, and they did do that. So they actually had 2 weddings. They had little quick, because I didn't want to go to the church and never, I don't know, for some reason they didn't want to. I'd never been married before, so they wanted to go on the boat because it was romantic. You could see the falls. I wonder if they really went there and filmed that.
Obviously, Safi.
And so they did that first, but then they went to the church. Everybody thought they'd skipped out, or Pam had skipped out, or Jim had skipped out. But anyway, and then they do the dancing up the aisle, and then there's the thing with Dwight hooks up with that girl that Mark talked about. And, of course, Michael hooked up with Pam's mother, which was weird. And anyway, there's just a lot to this. But it was nice. It was pleasant and fun. And all the people were there from the office, weren't they? Everybody?
Mm-hmm.
And that was nice, too, because Michael had given them 2 days off to be there. So they didn't have any reason not to be there. Anyway, that's it. And my food review is, I just thought this season was kind of adequate. You notice I gave it a lot of C's and a lot of D's.
Yeah. That's because there were a lot of storylines that didn't go anywhere. They got forgotten about. Yeah,
there was this one time where, it's right at the beginning, I think, where near the beginning, Michael says he's going to Cancun. He's trying to speak Spanish with everybody and driving everybody crazy. And of course he does it to Jim, and Jim he knows a lot of Spanish, and so he starts saying all the Spanish, and of course Michael's like, I don't know anything. And he just backs off. But then you never hear about it again. I wondered, I thought it was going to be like the sandals thing, where remember he took Jan and they went there, but nothing happened. You never heard about him going there, and I thought that was odd. And then here they have this huge storyline about the minority executive program.
Yeah, that goes nowhere too.
And what's her name? Is it Kelly? Whatever, she gets, as an Indian girl, she's considered a, quote, minority. So she gets into the program.
And in fact, I really didn't like that because they ruined Daryl's character. I forgot to mention, this is also the point where they ruined Daryl's character. At first, they're like, ooh, he gets an office upstairs? Oh my god, he's going to go places. And then all of a sudden, he doesn't apply because, and the quote is something like, I have a million years to be an executive in a minority training program, but I only have 1 year left in these knees to play softball or something. Like,
yeah, that was it.
ugh, like they really ruined his character there. So,
But they went on and on about Dwight didn't like it. He wanted to get it, and he was naming he has a beet farm, all this crap, and of course
it is true.
He doesn't apply.
It is true, Safi.
But anyway, he was trying to get, so he's the one who promoted Kelly to do it, and well, she gets it, but then they don't say anything else about it.
I think the worst story of the season, before I give my food review, the worst story was the diabolical plot. Because they really built it up, and Ryan says, "I found your diabolical plot in the printer."
Right.
And it's this huge thing. But like, what was the plot? Because they don't do anything after that, basically. Like, they just stand around and have meetings, and then eventually it's just done. And I thought that was really, really bad. Like, that was a complete failure. That is probably one of the top 3 worst stories in Office history, because it was such a failure. Like, that could have been a really good story, and they just completely screwed it up. Ryan's character was trashed the whole season. His character's trashed from now on anyway.
That's too bad. And Oscar was actually upgraded a lot.
A little bit.
His more story, or more talking, is more lines, and he also seems to be kind of like an advisor to Michael. He gives him good advice.
He gives Michael good advice, even though Michael treats him so terribly.
Yeah.
Which is cool. I would give this season is like a fish fillet to me. It's just well, it's different for me because I've seen the series like over 10 times, and for some reason, a lot of the times where I've watched The Office season 6, I've had McDonald's, and I just think that like season 6 is a very McDonald's-y season, and it's a fish fillet season. So, Safi?
Well, Dave, we go to McDonald's like once a week on Wednesday, and I would just say it was adequate.
Today's Tuesday.
Tuesday, I'm sorry. And we go there once a week. It's usually in the early part of the week. And, I don't like anything they have except for the fish fillet. And I have fish fillet and small fries and usually a small soda, but I had soda at home, so I didn't get any drink. And it's adequate for lunch. That's what so I believe if you equivocate that to the season was adequate.
Yeah.
It wasn't a bad season.
It was okay, though. I thought it was pretty
okay.
good. A lot better than season 4, and a lot better than season 1. So?
Yeah, and I would probably rate it a KFC chicken meal. But Marco doesn't like to go to KFC, so
but you've already
we end up going to McDonald's, so it's adequate. McDonald's I've been going there for a long time.
You think that KFC is better than adequate, though, so that doesn't make any sense what you're saying.
Well, I wouldn't even probably go to McDonald's.
Well, I wouldn't either. I don't even like McDonald's. You're the one who likes going there.
But it's okay. It's just adequate.
I like Wendy's. Well, I used to like Wendy's. I don't really like Anywhere anymore. Cause, I like Red Lobster, but they're closing down.
Because they're what would you call it? Their management, Dunder Mifflin, screwed up.
I used to like Tropical Smoothie. They screwed up. I used to like McAllister's Deli. They screwed up. Just everyone is screwed up in the fast food business.
But that's it. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and become one of our subscribers if you so wish to do. So, goodbye, everybody.
Bye.